Welcome back to this episode of the Learn Flute podcast. My name is Rebecca Fuller, and today we're going to explore something that will help you see a bit more into the world of learning to become a real musician. Now, something you may not have ever thought about before is, are your emotions a loose cannon? And what does this even have to do with playing the flute? Let's get started.
You can do it, and Rebecca will show you how. Step by step all along the way. Introducing the Learn Flute podcast.
Hello again. My name is Rebecca, and I'm hoping you already know who I am by now. I'm your online flute teacher, of course. Now, you probably already could be one of my incredible students who's working through the lessons I offer at learnfluteonline.com in the membership area, where you find loads and loads of video lessons and tutorials with everything you need to succeed at learning how to play the flute. This podcast is supplemental and will teach you even more of what you need. Now, you know it's a great day when I get to work with one of my students, especially one-on-one. And because I still have a teaching studio here in Utah, you get to benefit from some of the lessons I teach and learn because I take a lot of mental notes during lessons. I always want to bring around the important details you need to be completely successful. And as you may well have figured out by now, it's not really just about memorizing fingers on the flute. Nope, not at all. In fact, I'd say that skill only amounts to about 10% of what it really takes to play well. So, enter me, Rebecca Fuller, and all of the resources I bring to you to help you succeed at learning how to play the flute well. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about something I spoke with a couple of my in-studio students this past week. It felt so important to their development, and I just didn't want to brush past it and not bring it up to you online friends. It's definitely something to think about. Now, I want you to answer some questions for me today. Are you ready? Now, really think for a second here and answer. First, are you the type of person that is super mellow and easygoing most of the time? Just think or say yes or no. Okay, the second question is, are you a person who's kind of up and down like a little yo-yo, but not too intense on any level most of the time? Meaning you get pretty happy and you can get decently sad and have a lot of time in the middle. Okay, answer this one yes or no. Now, the third question, and I think you can see where this is going, is, are you the type of person who seems to always be trying to control their emotions because you are all over the board on a pretty intense level? Answer truthfully, yes or no. Now, of course, there are many shades here in between, but for this topic today, let's say that you are one of these three mentioned emotional people. People do have emotions, and I'm sure you're obviously one of them. We all are. Now, I've worked with all sorts of awesome people on this planet, and it's really fun when I get to work one-on-one with someone weekly or regularly for many years. I really get to know them well. I get to see firsthand what makes them tick, and as their personal mentor, I really get to help them learn how to learn. Let me say that again. I get to help people learn how to learn. I'd say it's one of the best things I do. Now, the reason I'm bringing up emotions today is because I've had an interesting conversation with more than one student in the past that started out pretty intense and a little bit on the negative side and ended up being the pinnacle or turning point of their whole flute learning career for the better. Now, let me explain. Some people are the third type I mentioned today. They just seem to be tied up in knots a lot, and they seem to feel frustrated very quickly or completely off the wall excited or happy and then way down in the dumps right after, especially when learning something new. Now, if this sounds familiar, then I'm glad you're here listening today. You are going to like how this ends. Well, anyway, some of my students get so frustrated and angry at themselves, their pets and their friends and their family and their homework and whatever it is. I think you get the picture. Honestly, it makes them a little bit hard to teach because it's almost like they enter the studio with a heavy weight, or I always call it their rain cloud, hanging over their head. It takes me half of the lesson to blow the rain cloud out of the room so that we can actually play some beautiful music together. It's actually a really big issue. Now, I've noticed that once a student has decided that they're ready to learn, then they do. And if a student is just going through the motions of showing up, waiting for me to get them to learn by just spewing out all the information at them, and if their mental capacity is still dwelling in a frustrated nature on everything else in their life, then it's kind of like teaching to a brick wall, as you can imagine. Now, this story ends well, so let's get to the punchline here. What I have talked to these types of students about is this. If you seem to be the type of person who's been told that they're kind of like a loose cannon, then you can actually sit up a bit straighter right now, because I'm going to compliment you. Yep, that's right. Here is the reality of it. Some people just were either born this way or maybe have been nurtured along in a positive or in negative ways until their emotions are just really sitting super close to the surface of their personality. Do you understand what I mean here? Some people say that it's like wearing your heart on your sleeve instead of buried inside you where it supposedly should live. Now, I actually love this type of person in my studio, and hang with me here because once I get these people to realize that they get to turn this, I would say, quote, emotions near the surface into their creative genius, they always get curious and really start listening to what I have to say. Think about it for a minute. Some of the best artists you can think of any style or genre. It can be dancers, painters, musicians, pop or not. But if you think about it, some and many are complete diva type artists because they kind of have exploding moments in their life and then also super quiet times in their lives. And during these types of moments, some of the most creative and interesting uniqueness comes out. Emotional people make the best musicians in the world. Now, if they can learn to calm themselves and trust themselves and the process and their mentor, their coaches, while they're learning the fundamentals. I think we should print that. Maybe we could use it as a quotable or a tweetable or whatever. Let me say it again. Emotional people make the best musicians if they can learn to calm themselves and trust themselves while learning the fundamentals. Then they can put all that juicy goodness into their music later, knowing that they will emerge an absolutely unique genius within time. I love that we get to rein it in and use all that juicy emotional stuff to be amazing. Well, how does that get your wheels turning today? Wow, what a great conversation to have here. This is fun and I love it. It's kind of quick and just enough to think about. We can learn so many things each week. How have you been feeling before, during, and after your practice sessions this week or month? Does listening to this episode spark any ideas for you? Let's carry on the conversation in the comments section here and assume I'll be seeing you for a technique lesson this week in the LearnFluteOnline.com membership area. Ask me anything. We'll chat again later. I'm Rebecca Fuller, the expert and instructor at LearnFluteOnline.com, saying bye now.
Thanks for listening today. Remember that this is where people of all ages, such as you, can come, learn, and play the musical instrument flute in an easy-to-follow, organized manner, and in the privacy and comfort of your own home, on your own schedule.